We're going to give out awards, and I was thinking that usually we're going to have awards and it's going to be clap, 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 clap as people come up and down and up and down. We're going to do something very, very different today, this evening, and I hope that it is going to be fun for all of you. We're going to have lightning rounds, which has been a little bit of a stage management exercise. Thank you, Gigi, for organizing all of this with Christopher and the team, Michelle, because it's going to be interesting. So I'm going to watch the clock, and I'm going to try and get lots of people on and off, and we're going to make this really exciting for you. And at the end of it all, we're going to announce some winners. We had about 200 submissions. We had 75 finalists. I hope they're all here now. And we have ultimately 17 categories with winners. And so, hold on. It's going to be fast, furious, and hopefully fun. And we'll get started right away with our first panel. We're going to have roughly about 8 minutes per panel to give you a sense of what you can expect, and we'll enjoy them. So the first category that we want to talk about, and we're going to ask, and throughout all these panels, what you'll see is we have a combination of customers and partners, all who've submitted and all who are finalists, share with us their experiences, advice, tips, and tricks, and lessons learned for all of you. So with that being said, we're going to start with transforming the customer journey. And please join me in welcoming on stage our first 3 panelists, Harrison, Megan, and Molly. Okay, so transforming the journey, we know, we've heard a lot about this morning and this afternoon from the team, we know that this is a difficult area. We know that people can be very picky about what they're looking for in an experience. We know that it's hard in an age when people maybe aren't as loyal to brands as they were in the past. And I think that certainly what we've seen from your submissions is that you've really tackled that challenge and embraced it. What I'd like to do is start with you, Harrison. Maybe you could share with us, is customer journey, is that a new label? Is that something completely new, or is that something you've been practicing for a long time? Is it different? What would you say?
Yeah, I think it's maybe a new label, but I think the practice has been around for a long time. At the core of everything is really understanding what purpose does every piece of content or functionality serve, and how is that tied to a specific customer journey. So we don't want to get into a situation where you're doing things or pushing content because you think it's cool, or you think, maybe this will help. Everything needs to be run through the filter of understanding how does this move someone through a specific customer journey, and have to have that mapped out so that you understand, okay, well, this is related to creating awareness or driving a decision or taking a specific action. So it's maybe a new label, but I think the idea has been around for a long time.
Got it. Megan, I want to thank you for coming all the way from Australia. I really appreciate it. The furthest traveler, I think, of all of this, so thank you for that. But I know that customer journey and managing through that with an organization is scary. That's hard to do. It's difficult to do. What are some of the challenges you've had to overcome in that situation in your organization?
My website's a report that comes out every 5 years, and we've just released the 2016 report, and therefore the website earlier this year. The 2011 report was 3 inches thick, weighed 4 kilos, I don't know what that is in US terms, and an A4 size. And our customers or our users have always said that they want to be able to compare change over time and how the environment's tracking. So doing that in a paper format is very difficult. So we knew that we needed to get something digital and interactive, and they also wanted to know where all the data came from, where the what the findings were, the assertions that the authors had made. We have 18 independent authors that write the report as well, so the biggest challenge for me getting the website launched was actually the content was being written at the same time as we were creating the website, and there were so many edge cases that we had to deal with as the content was coming in. We didn't actually have time to do any iterative user testing on the site, and so it was very much a build it and they will come kind of scenario, and getting people to move from that print mentality to the digital mentality. So, and that's still an ongoing challenge.
Has there been? We're going to have actually time is going to help us here. I realize we're going to have more time than I thought we did, which is great. Has there been organizational challenges too in terms of managing through that?
Yeah, definitely. So again, it's that print mentality. So our authors are very high-level scientific experts in their fields, and they very much write within. They write in Word, so it was a challenge getting content from Word into Drupal. They also, write very much in that mindset of an introduction through to their findings and then summary. So trying to get them to write in shorter topic lengths was a challenge, and I don't know that we necessarily won that battle, but once they saw what their content looked like on site, the penny dropped for them, and I think next time around we'll probably get something that's a little bit more web-focused or digital-focused, I suppose.
Got it. Okay. Marley, I'd love to ask you a question, and I think maybe then go back and ask both Megan and Harrison the same question as well. So, customer journeys and success, how do you judge if what you're doing is successful in this area?
I think your journey is successful when you have a very engaged and active consumer, that they are able to go to any of your touch points. So they go to your website, they go via mobile device, they see an emailer in their inbox, they see something on your Facebook page, or they see an ad on their Facebook page. And all of those messages are cohesive and are talking to the consumer in the way that they want to be spoken to. And also, they're successful if what they're trying to do is something that they can achieve in that method. I think that when you're approaching taking on a big project and trying to speak to someone throughout all of those channels, you need to, at first, really plan out what are these touch points, what are we going to be saying to them, and how can we make sure that what they're going to be hearing from us as a brand is going to be cohesive. When we were creating the vacationality.com website for Isobar, we really focused on people who needed a vacation. Who needs a vacation in this room? Like every single one of us times 100, right? So we figured that let's approach talking to someone who's thinking about a vacation by thinking about, what are you like when you're on vacation? Do you like to spend because you work really hard and you deserve it and you want to order another bottle of Cristal and get 5 lobsters? Are you like the manager who wants to go and have an agenda for your whole family and just have fun? Or are you someone who wants to relax on the beach the whole time? So what we did is kind of come up with a short quiz that was 7 questions long, that was kind of fun and engaging, and what we tried to do is with that quiz, steer everyone to identifying what their vacation personality was. And so based on what their vacationality, which is your vacation personality, what your vacationality is, we then kind of tailored the rest of the experience while you're on the website to that vacationality. So you like the best things in life, we're going to recommend really high-end hotels for you. And what we also did was we fed that data through an integration to Salesforce, and so the next time someone came to the Vacationality website, we're talking to you like we already know you. So we're speaking to you, or at least trying to speak to you, in a way that might resonate emotionally a little bit, because we know you came before, and we know what you told us, and we're listening to what you said. And I think that is very important when trying to create a successful consumer journey.
Great. Harrison, we've got a little bit of time before we get the next panel, so let me ask you, customer journey engagement, is engagement what's worth measuring, or is it about moving product? Is it about sales? What's the measure that we should really care about?
Yeah, I think one measure we have, and it's a little bit outside of maybe what's traditional, is thinking about, did we find an opportunity to go one step further with a user? So in a lot of circumstances, what we're trying to do is get someone to not just take that time to click the CTA or to buy a product or whatever it may be, but how do we find out more about that person and try to find opportunities to go a little bit deeper with them? We do a lot of work with the Denver Botanic Gardens. And it's a nonprofit, and they're really looking for people to engage and to drive donations and that kind of thing. But if we just take that one-time donation and leave it at that, we're leaving a lot of opportunity on the table. What we're trying to do is then find, okay, what is this person interested in? How can we get them interested in maybe becoming a member or becoming an advocate of some sort, volunteering, learning about other classes? So I think one way we really try to measure is, Are we finding other opportunities to connect with this individual, and are we getting them into other sales cycles or other journeys so that we can leverage all the work that's already been done to get them where they are?
Got it. Megan, 1 minute we got left. Let's ask you, how do you judge if your customer journey is successful?
So we're still straddling that print mentality and the digital mentality. So we've got PDFs online of the report. When people are no longer downloading the PDFs, I'll judge that as being successful. Right. But I think for me, we have so many different users, from secondary students through to NGOs, policymakers, commercial companies. It's really hard for us to make that journey relevant for all of those parties. So I think when I can get personalisation onto our site, I think that's when the customer journey will be successful.
Great. All right, well, that concludes this panel. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Well done. Okay, next category, lessons in personalization. I think something we've all talked a lot about over the last few years, and certainly a well-voted subject. Let's please welcome our next panelists, Chris, Connor, and Kevin. So someone said to me that this is one of those topics, personalization. We all talk about it. No one's doing it particularly well. Very, very difficult area. I know that data matters tremendously, and we've seen some of that discussion today. And certainly the kind of the lean mentality of trial and error, fail fast. But I'd love for you to share your experiences. Maybe, Chris, we could start with you. And you could, where do you feel that your organization and the work that you've done as part of the award you submitted, where are you making big strides in personalization? And as part of that, what has been challenging in doing that?
Well, we work with a number of different clients on personalization, and some are just getting started in the journey, and others are more advanced. I think one of the interesting stories we have is the Spring Rewards Network, which is a CRM and a rewards network. And what they've been doing is they've been sending out rewards to their members for like Victoria's Secrets. And the member goes into the mall and goes to Victoria's Secret, buys, uses the reward to buy something. Spring is monitoring in real time the credit card transactions for Visa, MasterCard, and American Express. And so once that purchase has gone through, they're able to take that data along with what they know about the person and other stores in the mall and generate a personalized reward right there on the spot before they've left the mall. So that's a pretty interesting example of it. What's proving challenging is data is needed to do personalization, and we have lots of data, but sometimes that data is kind of locked away. Thinking like in the healthcare space with EHRs, and sometimes it's very difficult to get that data out. So we've been working with a couple of clients to make that a little bit easier within Drupal, to pull that data out and use it for personalization.
Got it. Okay. Connor, data science. I'd love to hear your thoughts of, is that involved? Is that something that's important? And are there particular skills that you've assembled amongst your team in the organization at Weber as you've sort of tackled personalization? Share with us what you've done there.
Yeah, so I could talk about this for hours, but you gave me a minute and a half, so.
We're good.
Data science is actually, it's the way that we use it at Weber, it's kind of like paramount to everything that we do. So you're gonna hear people come up here and talk about many different things, but I think truly I believe, and I'm very passionate about data, it truly is the core of what drives decisions. So the way that you interact with your website, the way you interact with your customers, the way your customers interact with you, it's based on triggers that come through when data comes through, right? And so you need to have an understanding of what data you're capturing, why you're capturing it, what the story is telling you, whether it be, predictive modeling, stats, anything like that, it's definitely a necessity in our team and the way that we look at it. And then the skills. I mean, you need to be able to read and digest it. You need to be able to collect it, build it, send it from one source to another. So there's definitely an array of skills and people that tackle each one specifically. But it's definitely a heavy presence in our office right now.
Have you hired sort of new types of roles? Have you seen the sort of the composition of the team change to be able to sort of address that?
I wish. I would say that we're slowly getting there. We're also the team that's intact right now is taking steps in the right direction to better themselves amongst this path. We do have we have just outstanding people on the team, very, very smart people that we work with that are incredibly smart, that are helping us get there. But it's definitely, I mean, it's a learning process. If you ask anybody out there right now if they've been doing data science well, and they said, yeah, we've been doing it well for 30 years, they're lying. I mean, nobody has, right? Mm-hmm. So it's something that we're all learning on the go. But definitely we are looking at people who are out there that have specialties in different areas to come in and help.
Got it. Kevin, so for people here who, of course, have heard personalization, but maybe aren't yet tackling it and thinking that maybe now is the time, maybe they should be doing something about this. They head home Wednesday night, like, that is what I'm going to do. What advice do you have for the audience here when they want to go and tackle this and actually succeed in this area?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's something that we always want to think about a lot. We hear that word personalization all the time. We talk about journeys, we talk about personalization, we talk about all these different areas. But there's a couple different things we want to think about a lot when we're trying to get into that field. And kind of going on the trend of 3 things today, as everyone's been talking about. I'll go back to you, Chris, on that one. But going on the lightning side, since we got the short time frame of it. But basically, starting out small. Just like we do with a website product, we want to start with an MVP product side of it. Don't try and over-engineer your personalization experience. Start with something very small and effective that you can actually measure from that. To the point that Connor was making as a secondary part, rely on your data. Don't make assumptions about what is going to be happening along that line and what things you want to see from it immediately. Think about what the journey is you want to get to, but don't take that in assumptions when you're analyzing the data. We all know how you can change statistics when you start understanding what it is. So look at your data, understand that, try and rely on that along the way for it. And then finally, on that side of it, really a kind of important one as we think through all these different ways of orchestrating personalization, thinking through the different ways about it, but don't be creepy. Be contextual. Don't be creepy, but be contextual along the way. Thinking through that side of it. Contextual relevancy is great along the way, and we can do that by starting small and expanding from there. So, for example, on Brand USA and visitusa.com, we did a lot of experimenting with hotel and the experiences of visiting the US. So similar to what Molly was talking about earlier in the hotels and what experiences people are looking at, when people are coming to visit the US, you're looking for very catered experiences. So we started out very small with a very simple heroes and what content and call to actions were in that hero and what we wanted to establish along that line. So things such an example, if you have been interested in craft beer tours or things like that, we're able to take that and serve up data around that for you. And then with that, thinking of your content that's associated with it. Do you have the content to support the personalization rules you're setting up? If you don't have enough content to support that, maybe we need to add some more content in or rethink how much we're over-engineering or thinking about that content along the way.
Right. Connor, let me ask you another question. You're operating globally, you're a global brand, and your people are barbecuing everywhere in the world at all times of the year, I hope. How do different markets, in different regions around the world, how does that affect how you think about personalization? There are regulations changing in Europe, for example, right now. How do you tackle that?
Yeah, the biggest hurdle is what you mentioned, the regulations. I mean, GDPR launches May 18th next year. Trust me, I know we're working hard and fast to ensure that we're all lined up there. But the one thing that we do really well within Weber is that we empower the people in the markets to really run the brand, right? So if you were to come to me on the global team and ask me to personalize, the German website, I'm not going to make the best decisions there, right? Like the data is going to tell me one thing. I'm going to go in and say, this is what the data is telling me. I think we should do it. But inherently, we have a team in Germany for a reason. And they're there to make the best decisions for the customer at that time on the website. And we really allow people throughout the world. I mean, Germany's one example of 41 countries that we're in. We allow people around the world to make those decisions and really put the customer at the center of what we're trying to do online. So if personalization isn't the number one priority in that country at that time, I mean, it's just not something we're chasing. So, I mean, we really try to empower the different countries around the world, and we do keep in mind, like I said, we definitely keep in mind data privacy. We keep in mind really all the regulations that we have going on right now.
Great.
So,
good. Chris, final question. As you think about Centura and what you did with that project, and in areas like personalization, we talked a little bit about measurement. Start small with Kevin. What do you look for in terms of measuring success in this area?
I think we want to see that people are getting the data that they need at the right time. So we want to make sure that when we do these personalizations, that those folks are coming back, because that tells us that we're doing it right. Essentially.
Awesome. Good. All right. Let's conclude this panel. Thank you very much. See, I told you we're going to keep this moving pretty quick. All right, so now we get to meet the judges. So please join me in welcoming our judges to the stage. Hey, how are you? Good to see you. Thank you. Hey, Dom. Thank you. Okay. So it's, you have spent a lot of time with us, helping us think through all of these submissions that I spoke about. I know that as you evaluated the submissions and ultimately came up with the winners, we spent some time, all of us together, thinking about visual design, functionality, integration, and the overall experience. I'd love to start, Beth, with you. As you think about that, what, in your opinion, set the winners apart in the overall submissions that we saw?
Well, for me, I look at the sites really from a marketing perspective, because that's my background. And first of all, congratulations to all of the finalists, because it was a really hard judging process. You've been doing some great work, so congratulations on that. But for me, the winning sites they all had really great calls to action and brand missions. Everything was very clean and clear what you should be doing when you got to the site. Among the winners, there was a lot of terrific B2B and B2C brands, and one thing they all had in common was that the sites were very easy to navigate. And that's it's a simple, basic thing, but it can't be forgotten, because we've all had the experience of going to a website and trying to find something that you should be able to find in 30 seconds, and 10 minutes later, you leave the site, you're frustrated not only with the site, but with the brand itself, and that's a horrible experience for any brand. And I think all the sites, in common, they were just, really good sites and easy to navigate and easy to get through, and they had high functionality. And high functionality, it sounds like it's not a huge compliment, but I think it really is, because at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Got it. Dom, maybe you can share your thoughts on that as well? Which one to go there?
You brought your beer on stage. Smart man.
We had like a 4-hour meeting to decide the winners. We needed one of these after, during.
That's true.
So what separated the shitty websites from the good ones? Let's see. No, I mean, like, what Beth was saying, it mainly came down to, like, at the end, we were like, who wins? They're all so good.
Yeah.
We had to find one determining factor, and Laura will get more into that. But for me, the big deal was search and commerce. I mean, it's an Amazon and Google world. Yeah. Have great search. When I went into the websites, I pretended I was a user and trying to find something, trying to buy something, trying to, check out, trying to do something like that, some functionality thing. And for me, I was a sucker for search and commerce. If it was easy, if I could check out easily, you were a winner in my book. I think we're way past the time of like pretty and beautiful images. It's important. But no one leaves a website saying, wow, that was, did you see that red call to action button over the blue one? That was great. No one does that. They just want to be in and out, especially some of these tough areas like healthcare, health insurance. Dude, you want to be in there, in and out of there in 20 seconds, and find what you need. So functionality, I agree, Beth, was a big thing for me.
Awesome. So Laura, we, as we think into next year, and we had a lot of people that were engaged for the first time. We saw that earlier with a raise of hands. But what tips would you give everybody here thinking about a submission for 2018?
Well, one of the things I said when we did the first year was how there were some that had great essays and some that were they weren't really saying much. And I said, the one thing that I would love is better essays, which everybody listened to, because this year there were so many fantastic essays, which made our job that much harder. And when we're kind of fighting for winners, we'll go to the essays. And for me, it's really hearing the story of the strategy. So the business goals and how you kind of came about that. But then also there were the great ones that talked about the integration, why Acquia was the best choice and here's how we used it and that kind of stuff. So it's like what Connor had said, I could talk about this for days and sort of what sets people apart, but it's really seeing a strategy, and like he can be swayed by search, which we're kind of learning each other's, the things that we like. I can be really swayed by the details. So if I see that there's a certain industry and I know like the business strategy of that industry, and if there's those little things that show that they've really spent a lot of time researching and really knowing their audience, that will really sway me as well.
Cool. Well, look, I know that we had 17 categories, and I think that the goal is to continue to look for ways to expand those. The written submissions, the essays that you talk about, are really essential, because sometimes these are intranets or extranets that we can't see. So it's important to get the submission, because otherwise, unless we have a login, we can't get to those. I guess any other thoughts any of you want to share as you look at this experience? Any other final thoughts and ideas and tips to share with the audience?
Share your crappy websites.
Yeah.
The ones that got you to this place, right? The ones
The
that
befores.
made you have the meetings and say, we got to change stuff.
So a before and an after.
It would be huge
Yeah.
to do that compare. Where were they coming from, and how much did they improve?
Got it.
Because we'll see some beautiful websites, but then we don't know what the one before it was like. How much have they changed? How much have they? And also the ones, to go back to the essays, the one that can show the tangible results. So if people wanted more engagement, you can show higher engagement. So we see there was a strategy put in place, the project was completed, and those goals are being met. It's great to see that as well.
Right.
Don't lock us out either, right?
Yes.
If we couldn't get in, we couldn't judge
Yeah.
it.
Give us the passwords and show us your return on investment. How are you justifying to your C-suite all of this money that you've spent on this pretty new website?
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, judges, very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, so we're going to have now something that I think is very special, which is really this triumvirate between we have software, but we have partners and customers, and that collaboration is really important. It's also really challenging in many, many projects. So I'm really excited to bring two panelists up on stage who are going to talk about exactly how they do that effectively. Please join me in welcoming Aaron and Mike. Awesome. Aaron, let's start with you. You're at the customer, you're at Kronos, and working with Genuine. I'd love to hear, how do you really use a partner to help you do things that perhaps you just couldn't do by yourself?
Right, so before Genuine walked into our life, we had very limited experience with Drupal and Acquia. We were on a different platform. We were using .NET and different CMS. So before we started the project, we were like, it's such a big website and such a big project that can we do this? And how are we gonna do this? And obviously that from technical aspect that they helped us a lot, and which what we expected. But what we didn't expect was the amount of energy they brought into this project, that they're like, we can do this, you can do this, and we can do this as a team, and they showed us how we were able to achieve it. and also the creativity they brought into this project that, they have worked on so many different projects with different clients, even different platforms. So, they've seen all these, and they know what, brought you success, and they know how to apply this and convert this into success. So that's something that I don't think that we were able to achieve that on our own.
Got it. So you have your own internal team, and I think every customer here has had a situation where, in working with a partner, there's a challenge to make sure people are speaking the same language and that they're on the same page. What advice do you have for organizations who are in that situation or about to be in that situation? How do you make sure that you get your internal teams and your partner, actually speaking the same language and being aligned in that way? Right.
So I have to say that, we don't really evaluate them as like a partner, or like, we don't really want to describe this as a partner or customer relationship. We really worked as a team, one team that we worked together. We based in Northern Math, which is like an hour away from Boston. So we tried to, go down to Boston, go down to their office every week, and sometimes twice. Depends on the food is good or something, I would personally sit next to Mike, and I would, keep asking questions and give him the feedback, and tell him that, what are the blocks that we have, and I'll bring all these information back to the office and share with my team, and let them know that these are the progress that we have made, I think that really helped us so much. It brought the team together, and we try to do whatever we can to put the team on the same page. As we share the same communication tool, and there are a lot of things that we want to keep an open and honest communication. So that essentially helped us so much.
Got it. Mike, when you think about a new client, and maybe this is advice for other customers who are about to work with a partner, what are some of the first steps you take in trying to understand a client's brand and maybe some of the challenges they're trying to solve, the objectives they have? What's the process you go through? How can you share that so clients know how to be a good client?
Well, every client's a good client. Just there's no bad client. No, that's a great question, and I think one of the first steps that you need to do is change your mindset. And what I mean about that is, actually at Genuine, on the wall in a big neon sign, we have the words "Invent Together," #Invent Together. And what you need to understand is every engagement you go into with a client as a partner is you're not building something for the client, you're building something with the client. And this is what Aaron just alluded to, which he was great to work with. Like he said before, his team was .NET developers, which we quickly fixed that. So now they're great Drupal developers. But the first thing we had to do was recognize and help them see, hey, we're on your side. We are trying to solve your problems. We're trying to do this together. Let's collaborate. Let's be open. Let's just communicate. Let's solve this together. Because when you start doing that and the client recognizes we really are on the same side, we're on the same team, you're not just building something for me, what happens is the walls break down and you learn the nuances about how that client works and how they're expecting functionality, how they're expecting experience for their users. And you learn insights that just by going off in a black hole, building what the RFP said and delivering it, you're not going to learn. And that helps you understand that the engagement you're involved in, whether it's 6 months, a year, however long the project is, you may be done after that phase, but your client's going to have to live with this well after that. So if you approach it from, we're on the same team, I'm going to empower you to use what we're building, you're going to solve the right problems, you're going to learn the right challenges, and you're not just going to make assumptions.
Got it. Things don't always go perfectly, right?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Projects, they have their challenges. How have other advice on how to solve through those those situations in your careers as you've looked at projects that run into obstacles? How do you work client-partner relationship to solve through those?
I would say honesty and openness is the number one way to do that. If you find a problem, if you're running up against a deadline you're not going to meet, talk to the client as soon as you can. Don't wait to the last minute. Don't try to like skirt by it, because if later on they find out there is that problem, it's just going to make it worse. So if you can be open and honest, you can approach those challenges together.
Aaron, thoughts on that?
Right. So as a customer, I have to say that, you know, if I were you, I would find a partner that you trust and work as a team. Don't just expect that, oh, we're going to have a weekly meetings and we're going to have sending emails to each other, and, you know, work with them. You know, sit next to them and go into the office and, you know, understand their culture and like work as a whole team, so basically.
Awesome. Great. Okay, that concludes the panel. Thank you very much, Aaron and Mike. Okay, so final panel. We're getting there. So this is the sort of the overall category. When we look at all of the submissions and all of the different awards that we had, we really focused here with the judges on what we call brilliant experiences that engage and transform, ultimately thinking about the high point of what our customers and partners have been building here with Acquia. This was also the most competitive category. So we've got a few extra people. Please join me in welcoming on stage Andrea, Phil, Brian, Sujal, and Chris. Cheers. Hey, Andrea. How are you? Thanks. Hey. Hey, Phil. Hey, man. All right. Good. Nice cheer there. Love it. Okay, so Andrea, let's start with you. I know at United Rentals, you've gone through or are going through some pretty substantial transformation in the business, which is exciting. But I know that trying to convince an organization to do that and do that boldly and do it well is not easy. I'd love you to share with us, how have you been able to get support across your organization to go on that journey and effect the kind of change that you have and that you continue to do?
So it's definitely a journey, never ending. I think one of the biggest things what got us started on this was, we were starting to see disruptors, startups in the technology space, in the sharing economy, kind of on the fringes of our industry. So there were a lot of conversations of, okay, how do we handle the disruptors? And we really kind of came to, well, why don't we be the disruptor for our industry? And that really gave us the green light to say, let's go. But really then from there, it was rallying all of the organization behind it. And we looked at the customer experience and said, okay, how do we define that digital customer experience? How do we make it the best we can? And we realized that we have 1,000 branches across the US and Canada, and we don't have standardized, consistent customer experience in those stores, in those relationships. So that really kind of got the organization behind, let's standardize our customer experience. That will allow us to put the best digital experience out there, but then also have the best experience in our stores. But like I said, it's not just one and done, and we're still kind of continuing to see that there's this consistently, we've got to be bringing the awareness and the adoption in the organization, especially within our sales team. We have 2,000 sales reps that are out there and sometimes feel like they're competing with that digital experience. So it's constantly trying to educate them that a customer is coming to our website, interacting with us 3 or 4 times before they may ever actually talk to them. Or they've talked to the sales rep and then they're on the site. So how do we make the sales team continue to feel like the digital site is augmenting their relationship and making it more powerful? So it's a never-ending journey.
Got it. Brian, we had Holly up here earlier from the Commonwealth, Massachusetts, sharing with us what's been accomplished. But I kind of want to ask you the same question. Different organization, different situation in some respects, but I'd love to hear how you've been able to kind of drive that alignment in the organization to achieve the kind of change that you have, because it's been transformational.
So I think there are 3 key ingredients: leadership, purpose, and data. Strong executive sponsorship makes a really big difference. Our Chief Digital Officer, Holly St. Clair, Secretary Nunley, Governor Baker are all very supportive, engaged participants in this project. The second purpose, the Baker administration is really committed to improving the quality of services we deliver to constituents. So if you look at the Wayback Machine, you can see that since 2001, every mass.gov up until the one we just launched today has been a portal. And portal sites that lead you to other sites, had a time and a place in the internet. That time has passed. We are way past that. People shouldn't have to be able to figure out how to navigate the state bureaucracy to find the services and the information that they need. So there's important information that is not about that, and that's okay. It has a place. But if it's distracting constituents from getting the things they need, that place is not the flagship website of the state of Massachusetts. So purpose is really key. And then third, data. Data has been really focusing and also depersonalizing. So we had our data scientists look at the analytics before we started the project. 11% of the content on mass.gov serves 89% of the page requests. And 20 clusters of paths through the website align with 20 government services, serve 80% of the journeys. So, really focused. And when you talk to people about making the fewest number of changes to impact the highest number of people, or the top trafficked services, it really depersonalizes it. It's not about, what do you think is better, what do I think is better? It's let's look at the data and let's do what's best for constituents.
Awesome. Phil, you're with Powder, for the people who love to ski and outdoors. I'd love to ask you, in terms of trying to build something truly memorable, a really memorable experience, a digital experience, what's the secret sauce? What advice can you share with us? Is it about team? Is it about technology? What should people be doing to get that right?
Yeah, well, it makes it a little easier that we're in a really interesting industry and space within the ski industry. So we've got just great content. And I think what drives a lot of that, I'll echo a little bit of what Andrea and Brian said, is there's sort of this executive direction, and that was really driven about focusing on our customers. And our vision statement, I probably won't get it exactly correct, but is inspiring every human being with awesome experiences and cool places. So if you think about that and you take it down to more of the digital level and think about, well, we should be doing the same thing with our technology and our websites and our any kind of digital experience, that's what we want to do. We have great, awesome experiences on our mountain. Let's make sure that same physical experience is reflected in the way that we present ourselves to our customers. So I think the secret sauce is really providing that same exceptional experience across our digital channels. And we've undertaken that task and that mission to do that across our websites using the Drupal platform, and really making it a very custom and hopefully getting more and more personalized experience as we go down that journey to really deliver those just memorable experiences.
Got it. It reminds me, we were, when I think it was Angela Ahrendts, who was the former CEO of Burberry, who said, coming into the Burberry flagship store should be like walking into the website. And I think there's some parallels. It's very cool. Chris, I'm going to skip Sujal for a second, come back on something else. But Chris, I'd like to get your thoughts also, the work that VML has done with Tennessee, very exciting work. How have you approached this in terms of thinking about building something truly memorable? Is it magic? Is it what Phil described? What have you seen and what have you tackled?
Well, it's not magic. Actually, it's bringing the client very deep into our processes. Right, so they want to engage with us because we think about problems in a way different than they. We think about solutioning different than as they do. And so one of the things that you don't want to do in creating one of those type of experiences is enter into this, well, we're gonna come talk to you, and then we're gonna go off and do some things in a room, and then we're gonna do a big reveal, and you're either gonna love it or you're gonna hate it.
Right.
I don't want to be in that business. What I want to do is bring the customer along so that as we're going through that journey, we're building empathy for their user because they've come with us. So bringing them into our processes, bringing them into our tool sets. So sometimes, making sure that, if we're doing something, we did that particular project using Scrum. So we opted to go with a lighter weight Scrum tool than some of our developers like, to be honest, that they could go in and they felt welcome and they could make informed decisions as they prioritize that backlog. And so we were able to build, the right team, if you will, by making them part of the team. And so when we identified some issues that bubbled up, one of the challenges that they had was they're trying to serve all of the hospitality providers in Tennessee. And some of them do an amazing job of having incredible photography, making sure their hours are updated regularly, things of that dimension. So one of the things we found out in going out with our client and actually getting feedback about what frustrates travelers to Tennessee, and I think it frustrates all of us, is they're not open or the photography is really bad. And so we're able to uncover this really hidden desire to really build into the system using Lyft and those technologies to actually drive some behavior of his constituents, right? Because we have the tourists, then we have the members, and then we've got our client at Tennessee Tourism. We would not have found that if we'd done the typical here, we'll gather some requirements, we'll go back, and then we'll do the bigger reveal. We only got there because we had the client with us, truly working in the same processes, working in the same tool set, in all of those conversations.
Got it. Sujal, I know at Digitas and with the Coors experiences, there are many, many sites that we were able to look at that you've worked on. Share with us, how have you thought about continuing to push the boundaries of a sort of innovation? I think Brian said, hey, it's not just about, or someone said, not just about websites and portals. It's really, things are changing substantially. How have you tackled that, and what are some of the ways you've approached that with the customer?
Yeah, so from a Miller Coors perspective, we're looking to be where our customers are, and that could be through any channel. And that's from a sales perspective and also from an education perspective. What's a little bit different from Miller Coors in the alcohol industry is we can't sell directly to our customers. We have a federally mandated 3-tier system that goes through distributors who then sell to retailers or to restaurants and bars. What's really helped as of late is delivery services. So, and especially alcohol delivery services, folks like Drizzly. Amazon recently got into alcohol delivery. They're marketed into 3 cities a few months ago and then just expanded to 15. So one of the ways that Miller Coors was able to expand into that is by building an Alexa skill, where Miller Lite would say, order Miller Lite, but Miller wouldn't sell the product. It would come through and be delivered through Drizzly to end customer. IoT with the Amazon Dash button was another way that they were able to also sell product. Outside of sales, there's also indirect. You want to be able to help customers in their moment of purchase. So whether that's in store through kiosks or through different messaging platforms like Facebook Messenger or Kik through bots.
Great. Very, very cool. Andrea, we've got a couple minutes left here. It says we've got about 1 minute left here. So let me come back to the start with, I know you're on a sort of a whole set of capabilities you're adding into United Rentals. Is Alexa, is conversational, is voice something that you are considering in the future?
Yeah, I think voice is definitely something we're considering. A lot of our end users on the site are mobile on job sites, and I hear time and time again, I'm wearing gloves, right? Anything on a mobile device doesn't work for me. So anything we can do with voice, whether it's picking up equipment or ordering equipment, would be incredibly helpful for them. And I've heard everybody talk about data. I think that's the other piece that we're looking at with the next piece of the journey. Equipment provides tons of data from positions and hours and utilization, and how can we then serve that up to our customers to make them more efficient and more productive?
Anyone else? Anyone else thinking? I mean, we've lots of examples of this. We saw the great demo from the fanboy. Anything else on voice, Brian?
So we've done a little bit of experimenting with Alexa tinkering and are interested in recommendation engines, but have used machine learning in real production work in migrating documents from our legacy system into our new system. And our librarian estimates that with machine learning, adding metadata and renaming documents, we've done in 1 hour what would take a librarian 36 years. So that's really helped our migration effort.
Awesome. All right, well, that concludes that panel. Let's give a round of applause for this team. Thank you. Nice job. Nice job. Nice job. Thank you. All right. So, great ideas, great advice, I hope, for everybody. So we now get to actually reveal the winners. And the way we've done this is with a short video that I've not seen. So I'm excited as you are, to see all this. Let's watch this, and then I'll come back right after that with a quick wrap up for everybody. So if I click this. All right, there we go. Big congratulations to all the winners.